has many issues, some of them significant and some that are relatively easily addressed. But there are investments that need to be made in the fabric of the building and in its systems for the building to move forward. So maybe what I'll do before we go to the next steps is ask whether there are questions, or I can provide clarification to any of the school board members or to the administrators about what we discovered in our investigation.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Does anybody have any questions?
That panel is from 1937?
Correct.
Okay. I'll write that down.
Should be in a museum.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Okay.
Go ahead, continue, please.
I had a quick one.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Richard, just to provide a little bit of context, based on what you've seen in other schools, is this comparable to schools in the state of Vermont? I mean, I just want to kind of get a sense of what's out there.
This is not inconsistent with what we've seen with other schools that we've seen in Vermont, and I think our report says something about that. It is, I've seen worse. We did a major renovation to the Brattleboro schools, back 15 years ago, and that was in really, really difficult shape. I think that your facility staff has done a good job in doing what they can to keep the building up, but the summary is that buildings have a lifetime, and the systems and the materials have a lifetime. They need to be maintained, and I think you have the building has pushed to the point now where it does require some significant investment if it's going to move forward for another 25 or 30 years. So it's not the worst we've ever seen. But it has some significant issues.
Thanks.
Okay. So Bruce, should I move on to the next steps?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. So, just in terms of schedule, we had hoped to have made this presentation and moved onward to some of the other things that are included in our proposal, planning steps included in our proposal at an earlier time. Obviously, the issues around COVID-19 and social distancing and the complete change to the way that you guys teach are dealing with your students means that we have not gotten there as soon as we want to. But at least as it's laid out in our proposal, the facility evaluation, now relatively complete, needs to be joined by a program document, which kind of identifies the space needs in the building. We did distribute to David, and I think David distributed to administrators and teachers a space needs survey, which asks people what's working in their space, what they need to do a better job, essentially trying to understand how you would work in the building, how it could be better organized. And from that, we would, once those are returned to us, and we have a series of on-site meetings with teachers, administrators, and staff, we would compile a space document which shows where we would need to reorganize and perhaps add space to the facility. That again is something that's developed in direct conversation with administration and with the building committee. And then from that, obviously there will be, we need to establish a list of priorities in terms of where we're going to make investments, whether we want to spend money on renewing existing space or adding additional space to address program needs. And once we have that, then our next step is to take that program and build it with our MEP and our civil engineering design team into a concept design that puts that space program in place. And that, a series of plan diagrams, three-dimensional sketches, ideas about how we address some of the needs that have been identified. and then put a scope narrative to that. So that's something that the architects, the civil engineers, and the MEP engineers develop, kind of describing, giving a more complete picture in words of what the concept design is saying in diagram form. We would then share that with a cost estimator who's also included in our proposal, who would provide us a rough order of magnitude opinion of probable cost for making those improvements and additions to the school. We would share that, obviously, with the building committee and the school board to establish priorities. And with that, then pull together a project budget, which would serve as kind of a guiding document if or at the point that you're ready to go out to seek bonding support and financing for the project as it's identified in the concept design. So we're not, it's not clear to us, the ground underneath all of us has shifted, and where or when we want to move forward with these additional steps. But we thought at least roll out the framework for them, and then let the administration, the school board, decide when and what to move forward with.
Thank you, Richard. Well, it's interesting because our next item on the agenda is we're going to be hearing what our current financial status is. And obviously this is all going to be driven by, by dollars, as well as, community involvement. And obviously the staff completing that survey. But I'll turn it back to the administration and then to any of the school board members that want to weigh in on this.
Would you like me to keep the presentation up, or should I stop sharing my screen at this point?
Oh, no, if you have more, I'm sorry. I thought.
No, I don't. No,
Okay.
I can continue, or I can just, did I stop sharing already or not? Am I still sharing my screen?
No, it's still up there. Your last screen is the possible next steps.
Okay.
Does anybody still want to see the screen or?
No.
Okay.
Okay.